Oh, I finally, hallelujah, figure out this Social Security riddle. Drive me up the wall. So I appreciate some of you guys have good comments, good help. Took down my most recent video on this because it was wrong. It was kind of wrong. No, the video wasn't wrong. My understanding of it was wrong. So a couple of you guys pointed that out, and much obliged for that. So I'm not going to put, it wasn't misinformation, but my end result was incorrect relative to the reality. And I was like, oh, that's good. So I appreciate the help there. All right, so let's go to this. So here's my question. Here's my issue I've had. All right, so we take you don't get a Social Security COLA until you're 62 years old. All right, and if you're on this channel, you know that. You get until you're 60 years old. Up until you're 60, your benefits are increased with what's called the AWI, the Average Wage Index. All right, so average wage index will give you an increase in your benefit up until you're 60. You'll get a COLA, cost of living adjustment, once you're 62. So we've had these 2 years where you don't get a COLA, and the average wage index is based at 1. So you don't get any bump up on your average wage index from 60 and 61. All right, so there's this 2-year gap. It's just, well, I said, that doesn't make sense. I mean, I said, what's going on? So anyway, so this has got me down this rabbit hole of trying to figure out, where do we get these indexing numbers from? All right, I know where the COLAs come from, but where do the indexing numbers come from, and how can you calculate them yourself? Because I like to solve puzzles. I don't like solving puzzles like jigsaw puzzles, but I do like solving this kind of stuff because this is a riddle. I said, doesn't make sense. Anyway, so what we have here, when we compute a person's retirement benefit, we use something called the National Wage Index. And what does indexing do? It brings nominal earnings to near current levels. All right, so a guy born in 1963, if he made $15,000 in 1985 numbers, so he's 22 years old, he made $15,000, they're going to index that to bring him up to current wage benefits, which would be the equivalent of $62,000 today. So they take what he made in 1985, they times that by a national index factor, which in this case 3.96, to give him the amount of money he would make in today's dollars. Hope that makes sense. But the guy born in 1959 would not get a 3.96 index. He'd only get a 3.2159 index. Isn't that weird? So you're like, what's up with that? So again, the indexing amount for the guy born in 1963 is 3.96. The guy born in 1959 is 3.2159. And then your old buddy Josh here, I'll show you, who's born in 1970. My indexing, what year is that, 1905, would be 5.26. All right, I think I used in 1905. Yeah, 1905. So we go from 3.2 to 3.9 to 5.26. So all these indexing numbers are different based on the year you were born. All right, and as such, as you can see, the indexing numbers get gradually larger the older you get, or the later you were born. So my question is, how do we get this number specifically? Where do these numbers come from? All right, because I get it. I get what's going on here. We don't want to give a Social Security benefit based on $15,000 because no one will get paid. We want to get a Social Security benefit based on essentially adjusted index dollars. I get that. But where do these numbers come from? All right, so what we do is what they say. An index factor, will always equal 1 for the year in which the person attains 60. All right, so the year you attain 60 and all later years. Remember, we get a cost of living adjustment after you hit 62. We get an indexing adjustment up until you're 60. No more indexing adjustments up until you're 60, so we're worried we have these 2 years of a donut hole, we're not getting any adjustments. That's what Roth let me down here. So you can see, an indexing factor will always equal 1 for the year the person turns 60. Before that, though, is a result of dividing the average wage index for the year in which the person attains 60 by the average wage index for that year. So the year for which the person attains 60, we got to look at the average wage index for the year the person attains 60, divided by the average wage for that year. In this case, we'll just use 1985. All right, so let's check this out. So this guy right here was 60 in 2019. What the average wage index in 2019 was, we can go over here, boink, and we're going to scroll down here. If I remember to do this, I'll live in the show notes. In 2019, it was $54,099. $54,099. All right, so $54,099 divided by, in this case, we're looking at the 1985 number, all right? So what was the average wage index in 1985? It was 16,822. So we take this, what do we say, 54,000 right here, 54,099, 54099, divided by 16,822, oops, 822, it's a 3.21 index, which is what it should be. And sure enough, 3.216, exactly, 3.216. This guy, on the other hand, starting to rain out pretty good. All right, so this guy was born in 1963. So his average wage index is when he turns 60 would be 2023, not 2019. 2023, we see is 66,621. 66,621 divided by 1985, 16,822. 16,822. So his indexing amount should be 3.96 and 3.96. So that's how you do it. You take this graph right here, all right, and you say, when did I turn 60? Did I turn 60 in 2020? That would be the number I use, divisor, or whatever it is, the number I use to divide everything else by. So if I turn 60 in 2020, my average wage index for the year I turn 60 is 55,628. Unless I want to get my indexing factor for 1990, divide that by 21,027 equals, it'd be 2.646. So the amount of money I made in 1990 for a guy who's would turn 60 in 2020 would be times by that indexing factor is 2.646, all right, which is definitive only on the year you were born, all right? So it takes your amount of money you made in that year times that index number, and the index number is derived from taking the average wage index for the year you turn 60 divided by whatever the average wage index for that year you're trying to figure out what your index numbers is. Very interesting to me. Now the problem is, because we don't know what the average wage index is when I turn 60 because I'm 54. You see what I'm saying? So we don't know. We have to assume stuff. And so if we come back here, where do I want to go? I think I want to go blink. You got to hit this guy. Right here. So we don't know. So for me, born in 1970, I don't know what my average wage index will be in 2030 when I turn 60. Why? Because we're not there yet. So we're just using speculative numbers here. So we don't know. But we do know for everybody who's born in 1963 and below, 1965 and below, excuse me, because 1965, yeah, 1965, right? Because 1965, we have 2 years, is that right? Wait, hold on, let me think this through. 1965, we're going to use 2023 as our average wage index, excuse me. So, there's my bread. Well, let's go take a look. You guys ready for about another 5 minutes? Look at that. Look at that. Man, it smells so good. Oh, I love you, bread. Oh, man. You guys jealous? I'm going to put it in for a couple more minutes to get a little bit browner. Bake your home bread, dude. It is so good. It smells so good. And that's with my own sourdough starter. Oh, I'm so excited. Anyway, so I hope that helps a little bit with the indexing. You take your average wage index for the year you turn 60, divide by the average wage index for all the previous years. That'll give you your indexing amount. All right. So again, the question I always revert back to is what happens when I'm 60 and 61, because I don't get a COLA and I don't get an indexed amount. And see, this is where the controversy comes, because the bend points are still adjusting. We don't know what your bend point is going to be yet because they're still adjusting, but you will know when you're 62. The bend points for 1960, I don't think they're set in the stone. I don't think you're going to use, not 1960, the bend points when you're 60 as the same bend points when you're 62. I think those bend points will change, and that's where the cost of living adjustment comes in. I could be wrong, but I'd like to see it, man. Again, if anyone's got a Social Security statement from 1960, when they're 60 years old, another Social Security statement when they're 61, and another Social Security statement when they're 62, I'd like to see those, and I'd use them as a video. I'd obviously get your name and information out there too, but I'd like to see it because I'm sitting there thinking, you're going to tell me a guy who's 60 today, his bend points don't adjust? His bend points when he hits 62 will be the same bend points from 2 years previous? That doesn't make any sense. So the bend points adjust, and inherently he's getting a COLA because the bend points are adjusted based on the COLAs. Yeah, it was very interesting. All right, love your thoughts. Smash that like button and make your own bread, and God bless America. We'll see you.